Hello, this is our second of two videos on solving absolute value inequalities. What I would like you to do is solve the two inequalities. First one you can see here, second one is down here. I would like you to solve them, then pause the video, solve them, then watch the video to make sure you do it right. Or you could do the first 2 or 3 steps, then watch the video to make sure you did those steps right, then pause it, continue the problem, and so on. But try to do these on your own before you attempt your homework. All right, first thing we want to do is isolate the absolute value. So I subtract 3 from both sides. When I say isolate the absolute value, I want this all by itself. So I subtract 3, and I get 2 times my absolute value is less than or equal to 24. I divide by 2, and I get the absolute value of 6 minus 3x less than or equal to 12. The absolute value is isolated. It's all by itself. So then I write my two inequalities. First one is exactly as it's seen here without the absolute value. The second one is exactly as it's seen, but I switch the direction of my inequality symbol and change the sign. And then I solve. Minus 6, negative 3x less than or equal to 6, divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3. We switch the direction when we divide by a negative, so that becomes greater than, and I get x greater than or equal to negative 2. Come over here, minus 6, negative 3x greater than or equal to negative 18. I divide by negative 3, I divide by negative 3, and again remember, we switch the direction of this inequality. Now it becomes less than, and I get x is less than or equal to 9, 6. 18 divided by 3 is 6. All right, now go back to the original inequality. Notice that this is a less than. That means this is an and situation. So we write our and in there. And now we graph it. So I have 0 in the middle. Doesn't have to be. Negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. And then I have 5, 6, and 7. X is greater than negative 2 and less than 6. My graph looks like that. We isolated the absolute value, we wrote our two inequalities, and we switched the direction and the sign, paying attention to the word and or. Here we see, for the second problem, that we have a greater than. So because we have a greater than, right here we have a greater than, we're going to be using the word or. Okay, step 1, isolate our absolute value. So to do that, we're going to subtract 5. And we get absolute value of 1. Let's erase that. Absolute value of 1 minus x over 4 is greater than or equal to 1. I then multiply both sides by 4. Notice I don't put a times 4 right there. I put it up here. All right? It's very important. And then the 4's cancel. My absolute value, 1 minus x, is greater than or equal to 4. I now write my two inequalities, 1 minus x greater than or equal to 4, 1 minus x less than or equal to negative 4. And all I do, change the direction, change the sign. Because this is a greater than, I use the word or. Now, I solve. I'm going to add x to both sides. 1 is greater than or equal to 4 plus x. Subtract 4, subtract 4. I have x less than or equal to negative 3. Over here, same thing, add x, add x. 1 is less than or equal to x minus 4. Add 4, add 4. And I get 5 less than or equal to x. Now some of you have had a few problems with this. If I switch this around and I put x on this side, the point goes to the x, point goes to x. Or, switch it around, point went to the 5, point goes to the 5. So now I graph. Oops, graph. And we have negative 4, negative 3, negative 2. X is less than or equal, goes that way. 0, 4, 5, and 6. Greater than or equal to, we go that way. And we're done. All right? None of your problems that you do will be more complicated than this. All right? To go over this once again, isolate the absolute value. We isolate this absolute value. Once it's isolated, right here, we write our two equations, our two inequalities, and they're exactly as it's written here. We just switch the direction. Pay attention to the word and or, and solve. Here, we isolated this absolute value. Once it was by itself, we wrote the two inequalities exactly as it's written here, except we changed the direction and the sign on the second one. And we solve, and again, pay attention to the words and or. This is very, very important. This is part of the solution, and up here, this is part of the solution. All right? And just in closing, this could have been also written as x greater than negative 2 less than 6. Either way would have been proper. All right, have a great day.